everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of, don't even know what it's fucking called.
We'll figure that out next time.
Still need to figure out a name. This one's about the curse of Humpty Dumpty. And boy, do we got a lot to say about this. I'm joined by my co-host here, Logan.
Hello.
Trevor.
What's up?
And Liz.
Hi.
As always, and then I'm Harley, of course, the editor. And yeah, let's get into this.
This heart and soul of the podcast.
Yeah. What keeps this shit running? Okay, I can do this by myself.
Or we could say the Humpty Dumpty of the podcast.
Yeah.
Alright. So, the movie starts off with somebody building Humpty Dumpty, I think. I don't know.
We're still trying to figure that out.
With a lot of this
There's
stuff.
a lot of this movie we're still trying to figure out for the most part.
Okay. But the actual movie starts off with Wendy chilling like in a seat. It's her 50th birthday.
Yeah, Wendy's the main character. She's an old woman who's the mom of 2 daughters, being Hazel and Liz.
Hazel's a bitch, by the way.
I mean, fucking true, though.
Kind of figured that out. We didn't like Hazel from
opinions.
the start. She sucked.
Yeah, Hazel, she does suck, man.
Yeah.
But then she has like a weird vision of like people at her birthday party, but then comes back to reality and it's just her daughters, who are Liz and Hazel.
Yep.
Which, yeah, I was like, okay, seems pretty good so far. We're only like a minute in.
Yeah.
Then,
I mean, I think we can all agree this movie was not good.
no,
A
definitely.
real wet
fucking
sandwich of a movie.
Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have to give it credit though. The first like 2/3 were pretty good. Like, I had fun watching
the movie
the first
built
little
up
bit.
for a better, like, I guess, crescendo
Yeah.
than what it got to, you know.
But the ending, man. The ending was fucking rough. Yeah. Alright. And then Wendy and Liz are at the doctor's and figuring out why she's forgetful and how she got lost, like, wandering outside one night, which doesn't really come back much, except for in flashbacks, but these flashbacks also don't really make sense. Like a lot of the movie.
True.
Very convoluted.
Yeah. They take her so they can get her checked out for dementia.
Yeah.
Is what they're going to the hospital for.
And then I guess she eventually gets diagnosed with dementia, which doesn't happen on screen, but
Yeah.
They kind of just talk about it. They never get fully diagnosed. They just kind of say that she has dementia.
yeah, she's like, oh, she might have dementia. Let's do some blood work and studies. And then fucking cuts off to them like her and, let's see, them having to move to a countryside home for some reason. I don't know why they had to go there, but they did.
Well, the doctor recommends that they take her somewhere safe. And so they think the city, which they currently live in, is too dangerous.
Yeah, she's
So-
like vulnerable. People can take advantage of her.
Yeah, so she suggests that her daughters take her somewhere safer, which they decide is their second home, which I guess was their father's home. We find out later what happened with him. He's not in the picture at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
But, which is their father's home, which is out in the country, like out in the middle of fucking nowhere, pretty much. And
Yeah.
that's where they take her.
See her first little freak out in the car.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get introduced to Hazel at this time, too.
Hazel
Like,
is
actually introduced to her.
Hazel is her other daughter.
Yeah. And then Hazel and Liz get into an argument over if it's right to take their mom back to a house that has, like, bad memories associated with it.
They just argue the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
like totally oppose each other's views while their mom's asleep, so she can't really decide for herself.
And she's having, like, I guess one thing that we missed out too at the start is, like, she has, like, bad nightmares when she sleeps.
Yeah.
And she can't remember why she's having bad nightmares, you know? But in the nightmares, you see, like, flashes of them, and it's usually, like, her covered in blood.
Yeah, like doing something.
with a shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they take a pit stop somewhere, and then Mom wakes up in the car and sees
She forgets where she's at. Wakes
forgets where she's at, and then sees like this creepy old dude just like peering into the window, and she starts having like a
up. Panic attack.
And then they eventually get to where the main story takes place, the father's house, countryside home. It's a really big fucking house. It has a gardener named Bill who we're introduced to like right away.
As soon as they get out of the car.
Yeah.
They don't really explain who he is right off the bat. He just like says hi and they call him Bill. That's pretty much all
they
you get from him at the start, you know?
You figure out that he's the caretaker of the home and like
Yeah.
stuff, but you don't really know anything else. I mean, he just gardens and stuff.
Yeah, this episode's gonna be kind of fucking hard to do, man. There's not too much to talk about.
It's like I said, man, this movie was fucking bad. Not a good movie.
We were so excited because the title and it's goofy.
Yeah.
No,
So
they took all the
like-
goofiness and spunk out of it. They made it just real fucking stupid.
Also, I apologize because I said on the first podcast that we were going to watch our first B movie this week, which this was not a B movie. Let's get that out there. Like, this movie was not like purposely made to be bad. This was an actual attempt at a horror movie
Yeah, dude.
about Humpty Dumpty, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, it's on Tubi if you guys want to check it out, but like, there's also a Spanish version which might be better.
I would not recommend it. I would, no.
Spanish version might be better.
Yeah, because then you kind of won't know what's going on, and that might save you a little bit. Because, you know, we watched the English version, and, you know, we still don't know what happened.
So they get to the house, they meet Bill.
Yeah.
Go inside. Then I think
They're in the...
Oh, she cuts her hand pouring fucking water.
no, she's not. She doesn't cut her hand. She accidentally gets boiled water on it. So
Oh, that's what it is.
From
Okay.
The tea.
I
She was boiling
assumed-
tea. Gotcha. Okay.
I also assumed
So that happens to
was-
Wendy. She's making tea for everybody in the kitchen. Obviously, she has like dementia, so her girls are like worrying about her. Hazel and Liz get in a fight because
Hazel doesn't think, like, the dementia's real.
yeah,
But
she-
Liz is like, hey, you need to take this more seriously because our mom's in trouble. And Hazel's like, you know, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go out there and do my own thing.
they get in a fight because like Liz doesn't think that Hazel should have let her make tea by herself because she thinks it's dangerous.
But I mean, it's fucking tea, dude. Like, and also, like, I've never got a burn and, like, wrapped, like, gauze around it. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that's like
the
a
way
common
they
thing.
treat it. So they go down there. They like resolve their fight. Well, like I guess Liz is about to tell Hazel. She's like, "Hold on a second. I need to tell you something. Mom told me something about what she sees in her nightmares." And then when they're about to talk about it, they do that like classic horror movie trope where it just like something interrupts them and then they just completely forget
Yeah.
about what they were talking about.
It's because she, that's when she spills the boiled water on herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when Wendy spills the boiled water on herself. They go down, help her, and then like fucking Hazel feels bad that she let her make tea by herself. She's like, "Okay, I'll take care of it now."
Oh, and then when they're sitting there in the, like, table just talking about what they're going to do tomorrow, there's a weird fucking, like, glare on the camera lens that I don't think was meant to be there.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a fog rolls in for some reason, but
Or like
Yeah.
someone was looking at them through the window.
yeah, it could be that. But at the same time, man, like, you know, it don't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, it's just weird camera work just for a moment.
I think
Oh.
That was like when it was getting dramatic when Liz was about to tell Hazel like the secret before it got interrupted.
Yeah. So yeah, they go down. Obviously, Hazel makes tea for them. They're like, they wrap Wendy's hand with gauze, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then they're just like sitting there talking. I think it's like about talking about just like family memories and shit. Then you hear a knock on the door, and then we're introduced to fucking Beryl. Yeah, it's a real name for one of the characters.
Fucking barrel. Beryl's a interesting character, to say the least, I guess. Also, kind of,
Greedy.
yeah, she actually has some sort of character to her, though.
So they don't say it at the start when you first meet her, but Beryl is their father's sister, so it's
Yes.
their aunt.
Yeah.
Aunt Beryl.
Yeah. And you can tell like right away there's like a tension when they go to the door, because I think it's like Wendy who answers the door. She says hi, and like you can just tell right away there's like a tension. They like don't like each other,
Yeah, no.
and Hazel and Liz also don't like her. You kind of find out later why that is.
I mean, but the mom doesn't understand that she doesn't like her yet, because she doesn't
Yeah.
even really remember who the fuck she is.
She kind of opens the door and it's like, who's this fucking stranger?
Well, she like opens the door and then she's like right away like knows it's Beryl. But yeah, she like forgets why she hates her.
Yeah, like, I guess she recognizes Beryl, but she doesn't remember Beryl, per se.
Yeah.
But she, like, knows who she is. Yeah, it's fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
Alright, and then,
They talk for a minute, right?
yeah, they talk about something, and then Beryl walks away.
Well, Beryl's like, can I come back later?
Oh, yeah,
We'll
that's
set up a
what it is.
time to meet her like the next day. And then they go back to the table and they all talk about like what they're gonna do next. Because obviously Liz doesn't want to take her mom anywhere. She thinks it's dangerous, but her mom also like calls her boring. She's like, I want to do stuff. And so they all agree, like Liz, Hazel, and Wendy all agree to like go out into the town and go through the shops, I guess. So that's what they do.
Yeah.
So they sure seeing Beryl that day to go to the shops.
Yeah. Because Beryl sucks.
Yeah.
Fuck Beryl. Yeah.
And then, it cuts to that next day when they're in the shops. And it starts off with Mom, like, finding a pretty decent dress, I'd say, but Liz is like, no, you would look fucking awful in that dress. She doesn't actually say that, but,
She says it's too revealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but pretty much that's what she says. And then Mom's like, oh, I thought it would look kind of good,
Yeah,
but I
she
guess
looks
I'm a little too
discouraged.
old for that.
And then
then
they
Liz
feel
is,
bad about what
yeah.
they said, and then she's just like, then they're like, oh, fucking whatever, just get it, Mom. You'll look good in it if you want it. And then she's like, no, I'm not gonna get it.
no, you guys kind of hurt my feelings. I don't really want it now.
And then she just sees Humpty Dumpty. Like,
yeah.
that's how it fucking went. They were like, ugh,
Yeah, she says she
this
wants to spend her
dress.
money on something else, and then there's like literally in the next scene, she's staring at a fucking doll that's Humpty Dumpty.
Next to the
Not the Humpty Dumpty you probably remember. It's like a fucking creepy, weird looking Humpty Dumpty that has arms and legs and a body.
Right
yeah, and
next
it's
to
fucking
another
huge.
fucking like
Yeah.
clown.
Yeah, and then
It's next to like a whole family of other creepy looking dolls, which I thought would be part of the story when you see more of Humpty Dumpty later, but they aren't, so I don't know what the point of that was.
yeah, I don't think it is, but the one on the left of him kind of looked like one of the clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space,
Yeah.
like the big, heavier one.
There is a sequel to this movie, so maybe they're in the sequel.
Dude,
They could be. But also at the same time,
We
like,
are not watching the sequel, by the
yeah,
way. Fuck
in
that.
like,
Thank you.
why do they need a sequel? This movie kind of ended like on a note where, it's over. Like, I guess. I would not see a sequel from the ending. No, that's all I'm saying.
Never ever watch a sequel. Oh, and then she fucking haggles with the
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh,
shop
no.
owner.
Hazel starts
Okay, so
being a
she sees the
fucking
doll
Karen.
right away, and then she has memories. Or, not really memories, but she recognizes right away that it used to
Oh,
be hers.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was a doll that she says that her husband gave her a while ago. A doll that they had together that
Yeah.
somehow ended up in the shop. She doesn't remember how it got
That
there.
her
But she
husband
wants
bought
the
it for her.
doll back, and so she starts haggling. Well, the lady who owns the store, this like creepy old like lady. She tells them like, oh, it's not for sale, and so
Priceless.
yeah. And then Hazel gets in an argument with the lady.
Starts being
at
a
the store.
Karen.
Yeah,
It's
starts
like-
being a Karen pretty much. She's just like, well, she calls it priceless, and she's like, well, if it doesn't have a price, then it's free, right?
It says
Starts
it
getting
that
an
like
argument
5
with
times.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so it's free then. And then the shopkeeper is like, no, it's not for sale. And then she's like, oh, so that means it's free, right?
Yeah. And then Wendy basically like interrupts her, shuts her up, and she's like, I'll give you £1,000 for it.
Oh, it was 100 at first.
Yeah, she's like, I'll give you £100 for it. And then the fucking shopkeeper like looks at her and she's
She
like,
says
£1,000.
They finally work out to 700 pounds.
But they never give her the fucking money. So
yeah,
like,
you never see her give her. Yeah, like why?
They don't actually pay for it because their daughters are like, well, we don't have that much money, and so they tell her like, well,
they said they were going to bring it tomorrow.
They were gonna bring it the next day, but then the fucking doll was at their door.
Yeah,
so they go home, and as soon as they get home, the doll's like in front of their door.
Yeah, it's already there. Like,
Yeah,
what
they
the
don't know how
fuck?
they got there. The
FedEx
daughters are
must
like
have to pay
confused
for
and they're
it.
like a little scared. They're like, how the hell did it get there? And then Wendy's just like, well, obviously she returned it because she knew it belonged to me. You know, which I don't get the logic in that because the store owner was kind of a dick. You know, I don't think she just like give you a doll for free, but you know she did, I guess.
And then this is when we first like
Somehow,
actually see the size of Humpty Dumpty,
Yeah.
and he's like 6 feet tall.
No, he's like
Well, as a doll, he's smaller. He's like 4 feet.
he's like
big.
4'9", like
4'9".
almost 5 foot. Because
That's
you
a
know,
pretty exact.
Wendy, I'm just saying, Wendy's like hugging her, and she's
But
like,
he's also like up here when she's hugging him. Which I know you
he's
guys
like-
can't see me,
he's
but I'm
like
pointing
up
above my
to
head.
her neck. You know,
Well, like when she's hugging him, he still like is above her head.
So Humpty's anywhere between 4 and 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Somewhere
he's
around there.
pretty scary now, actually.
Pretty big doll.
All right, then it fucking cuts to like later, and Liz has a present for her mom, and it's a journal so that she could write down her memories. And
So it's easier for her to remember
Yeah.
stuff. Like she write down things and she forgets it. She can look in the journal. Yeah.
that's that scene. And then it cuts to the family playing charades.
Yeah. The
And
doll's
then-
sitting there with them. Yeah.
The charades gets a little too wild, and then they accidentally like
So I think
Bump
Hazel,
Humpty off.
Yeah, I think Hazel bumps. Or no,
Humpty
Liz bumps Humpty
had
and
a
he falls
great
down, and then
fall.
Hazel makes a joke, and she's like, "Oh, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall."
I guess. And it was funny too because I said that same joke like right before she said
That's
it.
true. They did steal Logan's joke.
Yeah.
They
like,
did.
right before.
It was word for word exact.
We're thinking about possibly suing them for that.
Yeah. Yeah, they stole my joke, man.
Ah.
And then after that scene, Humpty Dumpty blinks.
Yeah, it's on the ground. Like camera zooms up to him, and he fucking blinks.
Which is like the first sign of
Which you kind of expected at
alive.
the start. You know, it's like a horror
Yeah.
movie, creepy doll. Yeah, it's gonna come to life. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you drop a doll named Humpty Dumpty and it doesn't blink at you after that, like, they... that's, like, the only thing in the movie they got right, I think, was zooming up on him and, like, making him fucking blink. Good job.
Yeah. Like at this moment, I'm interested in the story. Like you know,
Yeah, that piqued my interest, and then they just
It's like,
threw it
oh,
all out the window.
At this
with
point, I didn't
everything
really
that
know what
preceded
to
this.
expect. Like, I could have just guessed, like, oh, doll's gonna come to life. It's gonna be a creepy doll movie. Which, you know, I gotta admit, at the start of the movie, I didn't think it was gonna be so bad. I thought, like, the tension, the music was alright, you know, kind of built up to something. It did not, like, meet my expectations, even like, nearly.
No.
yeah, no,
But-
it was definitely pretty bad. So you're good.
No, like, where are we at now?
We are now, like that scene ended after Humpty blinked, and then now we are cutting to Liz brushing her teeth in the bathroom, and then
Yeah, it's nighttime.
when she's brushing it and then like looks in the mirror, and then all of a sudden hears a baby cry from like the hallway, which
Yeah.
comes back again later.
She's like, Mom?
You understand why, but yeah, she hears a baby crying, and so she calls out "Mom."
Yeah,
We were
Like,
all just
instinctually.
And
like,
then just
what?
brushes it off.
yeah, like Mom walks out in the hallway. Huh. Okay.
Sees Humpty like laying in the middle of the hallway.
It doesn't think anything of it too. Like
Yeah, just like goes over, looks at it, gets all like creeped out, and picks him up, set him back. Like she sets the doll back in her mom's room.
yeah, which I thought was kind of like weird because like how she didn't think like anything weird of it because her mom seems like super like protective of this doll to where it kind of like doesn't leave her side. But it's in the hallway? Like, Mom, I don't think you forgot that in the hallway, but she doesn't think twice of it
Yeah,
because
you
she
know,
doesn't actually know her mom.
classic stupid horror movie people, not thinking much of like anything that's creepy.
Oh, and then she like pokes it in the head.
Yeah, she fucking touches it, and like yeah, nothing happens. Obviously, just supposed to be all creepy, and then it like cuts to after she leaves the room. It cuts to Humpty Dumpty, and the camera just like pans over to him. He's just like sitting there in the dark room, and then he starts moving.
Yeah, and then he comes alive, and then like has
he stands up, and that's why I say like he's taller when he's like alive than he is when he's like.
Oh no, for sure.
That's because he looks pretty tall when he's like standing up. So he like stands up, and then he like walks over to Wendy as she's sleeping, and he like looks at her, and then he like opens his mouth, and he's got like a bunch of like sharp, jagged teeth.
Yeah, he
got,
kind
like, a
of
huge mouth.
It kind of reminded me of a xenomorph from the fucking, or not xenomorph, a necromorph from Dead Space.
Yeah, kind of.
Like
actually.
It was kind of a cool design, but it looked like shit because it was like a rubber mask.
He doesn't really do anything. He kind of just like opens up his mouth and he walks like he like leans over Wendy and just like
Sniffs her?
like rubs his teeth against her while she's sleeping or something like that.
She wakes up though, and then it's fine.
Yeah, and the doll's just sitting in the chair.
Yeah, well, she yeah, that happens, and then she wakes up, and yeah, nothing's wrong.
Yeah, so he just like breathed on her really weird, like or something.
Oh, something like that. Kind of did an R. Kelly.
And then Beryl the bitch shows up again.
Oh yeah. So then it cuts to like that morning, and obviously, Beryl is supposed to like. They're supposed to meet with Beryl. They made plans before.
And she's like,
Yeah, she goes to the door and she opens it up. Well, Wendy goes to the door and opens it up and doesn't realize that Liz made plans to meet Beryl the day before, and so Beryl's all offended. She gets
yeah, that they didn't invite her to go to the shops with them.
Yeah,
and she got all butthurt about it, which was fucking weird because like,
if you're British and your name's Beryl, tell us.
Yeah,
we'll make fun of you on the fucking spot. I'm sorry.
I mean, with that kind of name though, like. I'd be surprised if everyone you know doesn't make fun of you.
Like, do a barrel roll.
It's true. Dude, I'd be saying that shit all the time if I knew somebody named Beryl.
Oh, and then
it's just the worst name.
Beryl wants to like check out the house, so they start walking down a hallway. And
oh yeah, so she wants to go in. Wendy invites her in. Well, she opens up the door, and there's like this moment where I think she like says something she didn't mean to, and so Beryl's all confused, and then she like tells her, "Oh, like I have dementia."
Yeah.
Right, and then Beryl's like, "Oh," and then yeah, she like invites her in. She comes in. She goes to have like tea with her, and like Liz walks in as they're like having tea together. And she sees the Beryl, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were here." And kind of gets into a little bit of a scuffle with Beryl because Beryl's just like, "Oh." Kind of brings up how she didn't tell him.
Oh, that happened after they walked down the hallway.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, so they're walking down the hallway because Beryl wants to, like, check out the house.
Oh yeah, right.
And then they stop like at the end of the hallway, and Wendy asks Beryl if she wants to come see the attic because I guess there's a spider in it. I don't know if that's what she said, but she said something about spiders in the attic.
No, she asked if she can go in the attic to see like old family photos or whatnot. Because Beryl is their aunt, meaning that it was their dad's sister, and their dad's the one that owned the house, so Beryl technically also kind of owns the house. Yeah. Because you don't really know what happened to the dad yet. It's implied that he's like out of the picture. Either he's like dead or he's just not there.
But I mean, I don't think that at all justifies Beryl owning the house.
In her mind, it is, you know.
Because then it would just be.
But no, that happens after they have tea together, and Liz gets in kind of the scuffle with.
But Liz doesn't show up yet. Liz shows up after, because they go into, because Wendy starts like running around the house, because the girls are out at this moment. Hazel and Liz are out doing something.
Yeah, after the tea scuffle.
Yeah, after the tea scuffle. They do that first. Because remember, Beryl goes into the attic, then she tries to...
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, and then they leave.
Okay, so before that happens...
I just skipped over, like...
They're in the kitchen.
Totally got tripped by Humpty Dumpty. Yeah.
No, that happens after this.
Yeah, so before this happens, they go into the kitchen, and they have tea together, and as they're doing that, Liz walks in, and she sees Beryl, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were here." Gets into a bit of a scuffle with fucking Beryl, because Beryl's mad that she didn't tell her about the fact that her mom has dementia. or any of that. And so,
Okay,
and it's implied that like nobody really likes Beryl, and so like Liz is confused why her mom's talking to her because like there's like a past that they didn't like each other, and
Yeah, to be honest,
she has dementia, so she doesn't really
Yeah.
remember why she doesn't like her.
this whole scene kind of doesn't really matter. They could have left it out and it would have been the same movie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really a nothing scene.
Yeah. And then they walk down the hallway and do all that stuff, and then Wendy starts talking to Beryl about like how they should sell the house so that Beryl can get some money.
Yeah, they go into the attic to look at family pictures, and as they're up there, she starts talking about that.
Yeah, like manipulating her, trying to feed her full.
She's saying that she should sell the house in order to get money for both of them.
Because it's like a 50-50 thing. That's what she
And
was
Wendy's
saying.
like, no, this is our house.
And this is where you start kind of figuring out what happened to the dad because she starts talking to when she's like, I know my brother
Want to know?
left your...
Yeah.
Yeah, she says, I know my brother wouldn't have left your family because it's... And then
Because he's not that kind
it
of
makes
guy.
Wendy upset because she's like, well, your father did leave us. Which isn't true. Find out later it's not true, but...
And then Beryl decides to go look at the other house or the other parts of the house without Wendy, and stumbles into Wendy's room to steal stuff out of the drawer or to look through her drawers. I don't really know.
Yeah.
And then Humpty wakes up, but the girls end up coming home, and then he like falls over and I guess trips Beryl.
Something like that, yeah. So she goes into Wendy's room, tries to steal stuff. You see, like, Humpty in the background coming alive, and he's, like, looking at her. Doesn't do anything, though.
Like, after, like, watching, like, Beryl's character progress, I think she was more just trying to look for, like, clues, because she kind of suspects Wendy of, you know, murdering her husband.
Yeah.
So I think that's more what it was than trying to steal shit, but I also don't know, because Beryl also seems like the lady who would try to steal shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's just implied as, like, a scumbag, pretty much.
Yeah.
Nobody likes her.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe she was actually the good guy if Wendy was a psycho and killed her husband.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been, but...
We'll talk about that
We
more
don't know
later.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, and then Bill shows up again at the door, and Wendy answers it and is like, Bill, my gardener? Which I thought was just goofy.
Well, no. Beryl views as, like, Liz and Hazel are coming home, and she, like, quickly walks through the door because, like, they come home while she's in, like, Wendy's room trying to steal stuff, and she sees them, and she's like, oh, fuck, gotta get out of here. So she, like, walks out quickly as they're coming in,
Oh, yeah.
and they see her, and they're like, well, that was weird, you know?
Yeah.
That happens.
And that's when Humpty Dumpty trips her. Or she trips over Humpty Dumpty, I'm not really sure. Something happens and she falls. And then Bill shows up and she says that goofy thing. And then Liz and Hazel end up going upstairs so that their mom can spend, like, alone time with Bill.
I was a little bit creeped out by Bill at first. I thought he was just, like, you know, a weird person.
Yeah, I mean, he still just, like, weird. I think the actor's just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It just seems like a stereotypical dad, you know?
Invites Bill in, and Bill and Wendy are, like, having tea together and talking, and that's when you start learning more about, like, Wendy's past, kind of, like, what happened.
Yeah.
Because she starts, like, asking Bill about the things that, like, she can't remember.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, like, revealed as they're talking that, Wendy, I guess, had a miscarriage. So, her daughter Hazel, I guess you find out, like, at this moment, is not actually her daughter. She's adopted.
And this is Hazel number 2.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she had a miscarriage with a daughter she was originally going to name Hazel. Or at least that's what Bill tells her. He talks about the incident, so she starts questioning him about, like, oh, what is the incident? He gets all uncomfortable, and then he tells her, like, oh, it's like the miscarriage.
And that's why the husband left with heavy quotations, but he didn't actually leave, you come to figure out later.
Oh, and, like, during this scene, it's like a mix between them and Liz and Hazel and Liz and Hazel get a phone call from Beryl saying like that their father isn't actually missing, and that she thinks she knows what happened to him.
And obviously Hazel and Liz don't like Beryl, so they like hang up the phone.
Yeah.
They kind of just disregard it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think the next scene is Wendy like runs outside after Bill leaves to ask Bill how she felt when she had her miscarriage, because she couldn't remember her miscarriage. And then I think that is when they were talking about the miscarriage. So I guess we already talked about that.
And then you see Beryl again, because she's like snooping on them,
Yeah.
watching
Oh
their
yeah,
conversation.
she's like outside of their house, like snooping on them,
And she sneaks in as Wendy walks in.
or walks out to go talk to Bill. Yeah, she like sneaks into their house. And then I think she goes in, and then I think it cuts from that scene to then it's nighttime. Wendy's going to sleep, right? And then Beryl's
Yeah.
kind of like snooping around their house.
Then she like goes up to the attic.
Yep, she goes up to the attic to, I think, look at like documents or whatever. I think she's looking at the documents that were talking about how Hazel's adopted.
No, it was
It
she
was
found
the-
a life insurance assessment.
Yeah, the
Oh,
life
yeah.
insurance policy.
So we obviously now know that like the father died.
Yeah. Well, she's like snooping through the house. She's walking through the hallway to get to the attic, and as she's doing that, she sees Humpty Dumpty sitting in the hallway.
Yeah, the downstairs hallway at first.
Yeah.
And then she like goes upstairs, and then all of a sudden he's just sitting in the upstairs hallway.
Yeah.
Which, so I guess he can fucking teleport.
Yeah. And she like looks around, looks at him, and like gets all creeped out. And then yeah, carries on doing her thing. She goes up to the attic, and she finds like she's like snooping through all that, finds the life insurance stuff, and then you see like Humpty Dumpty like peering at her in the background.
Yeah,
It's like-
he's full like alien head at this point.
Yeah, he's got like his teeth out and everything, and he's like stalking her,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like looking at her through like these curtains, and you can kind of see like his silhouette.
It was like a plastic sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ends up
And then yeah,
attacking her with the plastic sheep and like trying
trying to suffocate.
Yeah,
her.
trying to suffocate her.
And this is Humpty's first kill. Is gonna be Beryl. Thank
Yeah.
God. Thank God.
Yeah, Beryl's a
Yeah.
fucking bitch.
Now that we're kind of evaluating this, though, I think it's safe to say that Beryl might actually be like, she could have been the hero of this film.
I mean,
she was
she
trying to
could've.
steal from him, so I want to
But
say.
not necessarily
Yeah.
still. Maybe she was just trying to get that redemption for her brother,
But also, if she's suspecting Wendy as like
the killer.
the killer, why is she a fucking like bitch to Liz and Hazel? Like, they don't deserve that.
Yeah, that's fair.
They
I
had
don't
no
know.
dealing with that because
She's got a stupid name, okay? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
She
She's
has a terrible
stupid.
name. I'm glad she died.
she's stupid, has a bad name, and is a bitch. But she might be an okay person.
Yeah, so Humpty, like, he tries to suffocate her with, like, this fucking plastic stuff. It doesn't work. She, like, rips it open so she can breathe, and then he, like, gets his teeth ready, and then... At this moment, like,
Yeah.
Wendy hears, like, thumping upstairs, and so she wakes up, and she goes to try to investigate, and as she's, like, walking up there, she kind of, like, walks in as, like, Humpty's, like, killing Beryl.
Yeah.
And so she, like, kind of sees what happens. Like, he has his teeth out, and he, like, fucking attacks her. There's, like, blood all over her face.
I
She
think he
dies.
bites her neck, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it doesn't really
Yeah,
show. what
yeah,
he
no,
does.
he did bite her neck.
I mean,
Something like that.
it was
He
either
bit
her
her
neck or her chest.
He bit her neck
Wow.
because he only bit her neck. He didn't use his chompers on anybody else. He used the fucking knife.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that. Yes, he
God
did
damn
use
it.
chompers.
I'm
But
sorry.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, so fucking Wendy sees what happens. She gets all freaked out and screamed, and then fucking Humpty sees her, so now he's aware that she knows. And so she, like, fucking runs away and starts freaking out, wakes up her daughters, and they all, like, come out and try to, like, fucking, like, make sure her mom's okay.
She's
Yeah.
like,
And, like,
she's
she's...
trying to call the cops.
Yeah, and she, like, sees
She
that,
did
and she
call the
tells them,
cops.
she's like, don't go up in the attic, just don't do it right now. And she's, like, all freaking out, and they don't know what's happening, so they call the cops.
And then when the cops get there, there's no fucking body.
Cuts to the
Yeah,
next
she
scene.
actually just gets mad when she walks in.
Cuts to the next scene when the cop shows up and she goes up to the attic to investigate to go see the body that she said she saw. And yeah, cop. Obviously, there's no body there. It's implied that like Humpty did something to hide it. You know,
Yeah.
I
Which-
guess.
I assume that he ate her. I guess. Because
What?
But-
Well,
well,
okay.
yeah, I know. But at the time, I was saying, you know, we'll get to it though. But
yeah. So the cop doesn't believe him, obviously, and obviously their daughters tell the cop that she has dementia, and so the cop like just kind of tosses it off as like, she's just seeing things, crazy old lady, you know.
and
The
then she
cop's
tells
just like, fucking, well, don't waste my time.
You know, she's like do what actual cops do.
and just being an asshole for.
She is
Sorry,
probably
so-
the best actor in this whole movie.
That was
That's
actually
fair.
pretty spot on. They wouldn't have actually investigated shit. They were just
Yeah.
like, oh, you have dementia? Well, fucking crazy woman, stop seeing shit.
Yeah.
That's very fair. She is the best actor in the whole movie.
Yeah. Cop did her role.
And so the cop leaves, tell them like, oh, well, if you could just try to monitor her phone calls because we're like actually have like shit to go do. So she like leaves, and obviously then her like daughters, Wendy's daughters, are trying to like console her and be like, oh, all in your head, you know, like you gotta calm down, which makes it so like Wendy and Liz get in a bit of a scuffle because then like Wendy
Yeah.
thinks that Liz is kind of like calling her crazy and acting like she made it all up, even though she didn't.
I also have this written down as a justified mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Because the mom is having a mental breakdown to hell. She's like fucking. She has her journal in her hand, but she's like all over the place with it, just shaking out of control. Because, you know, what else are you going to do after you see that? It's probably really scary. I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see it, and it wasn't that scary, but.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not in her shoes. I don't know. And then it cuts to Liz on a computer.
Oh,
Researching.
I guess we should say it's like an important detail in the movie. Because of that, that's when Wendy starts using her journal. That Liz gifted her. Because at this point, like people are calling her crazy, and she's like, okay, now I'm actually gonna like write down everything that I remember. And so
Yeah.
she starts doing that with like pretty much everything.
Yeah, everything anyone says to her, I guess she just writes down.
Yeah.
But then it cuts to, I think it's still in the middle of the night, but Liz is on her computer researching Humpty Dumpty on like Wikipedia or something and sees a bunch of drawings.
Yeah, she finds out that like the actual origins of Humpty Dumpty are like demonic, in that it comes from like a cult of people that were trying to like live forever, I guess. And so they like
It's really
Like-
fucking goofy, dude.
they like fucking did like a ritual to like make a demon come to life to like
Yeah. And then
For what?
Liz also,
so they could live forever.
Liz is also thinking it's a good idea to show her mom these photos after she just had a panic attack about Humpty Dumpty killing Beryl. Like, obviously, it's a great photo.
No, she shows Hazel.
Well, no, when she showed Hazel, she was talking about wanting to show mom so that mom knew that it wasn't real.
Oh yeah. So she shows Hazel to like talk to her, and she's like, well, you know, I looked up Humpty Dumpty, and this is what I found. And like fucking Hazel's all freaked out. And then she's
Yeah.
like, you can't show this stuff to mom. It's just gonna make her all scared and stuff.
Which, I mean, is a valid fucking point coming from that fucking bitch. Like, you know,
Yeah.
she's kind of smart. At least smarter than Liz, it seems
It's
like.
true.
Because why would you want to show your mom pictures of this demon that she was seeing murder Beryl? Like, you know.
Yeah,
That would just show her that it is real.
Yeah.
pretty much.
I feel like at that point in the movie, Hazel stopped being a bad character.
No, she actually kind of became a better character, but still was kind of a bitch at some points. But, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's just Hazel.
Definitely.
I'm kind of blanking on what happens after that.
What happens after this is Bill shows up at the door, and then Wendy says again, Bill, my gardener from before? And then Bill says something to her. I forgot what he said, but it was like really fucking cryptic. Like, it's like he had to really think about it.
She's like, please tell me what happened. And he's like,
Oh yeah, what happened with the dad, right? Because she also starts suspecting that he didn't actually leave then. Is that something else happened? Is what
I
she...
wish we could remember what he said to her because it was total BS.
Yeah, I should have wrote it down.
It was like, it's all like, maybe you try not to remember because something stupid like that.
Yeah, it's just really cryptic, like, code words that Bill's talking to her, like, it's weird.
No help.
But then,
Like, yeah, he sounds wise, but it's like not helpful at all.
This whole movie just missed.
then, it cuts to Hazel bringing Humpty Dumpty back to, like, the place where he chills, and then she walks out there, and then is greeted by her mother, who is like, "You're not my daughter. Who are you?"
Oh yeah. And then Wendy sees her, and then she's like, she starts pointing at her because I guess she has like, or she writes down in her
that's
journal.
what he says.
She writes down in her journal because of what Bill tells her.
Yeah.
That, Hazel is not her daughter because she's technically adopted. Because she has a dementia, she doesn't realize if Hazel is actually her daughter or not, and she has it written down.
Hazel
so
is
she
not
starts-
my daughter in big, bold letters.
That's what
So she
took
starts
from
like
her.
looking at her, and she's like, "You're not my daughter." And then
Who
Hazel's
are
like,
you?
"What are you talking about, Mom?"
He's like crying, like,
Yeah.
why would you say that?
Yeah, she's,
Mom,
like,
you're
trying to
fucking
console her, and
tripping.
She's like, "No, don't say that." She's like, "You're not my daughter. Who are you?"
He's like, no, see, I wrote it down.
And this starts the
And
villain
so-
arc of Mom.
Yeah, well then Hazel's like, "Fine, I'll go get my birth certificate to show you." And so she goes up to the attic, and this is when like the meat of the movie starts.
Yeah, when it starts getting really fucking
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get my birth certificate.
Yeah. And then she's up there looking for her birth certificate. And then it cuts to Liz at the shopkeep.
Yeah.
And then the shopkeep starts doing like some also
well, not
cryptic
quite
messaging.
yet. I think it goes back to Wendy. And I think...
Oh, yeah, because then she gets fucking bitch slapped by that dude in her
Oh,
room.
yeah. So then Wendy...
That's what happens next.
It cuts to Wendy. So you're going to have to follow along because the movie starts getting a little confusing at this point.
Yeah.
I'm lost at
Well,
this
you might
point.
just have to edit the parts where we're like fucking shit up and then just get it on the right timeline.
No,
No,
I
I just mean
it's
in
just
the
the
movie,
movie,
it's starting
man.
to be a little confusing.
Okay, yeah.
Because after that happens, then it cuts to, I think, Wendy, and she's like...
Talking to Humpty Dumpty.
yeah,
Or, no, she's having a mental breakdown and then is like looking in the mirror and then her mirror self starts talking to her.
she looks in the mirror and then she...
This is
No.
after-
So she goes
Yeah,
into her room
this
and
is
then you see a
after
guy
she gets in a fight.
like hit Wendy over the head.
And then I think it cuts to
It's
Liz.
not implied who it is, but it's supposed to be their father.
I think.
He doesn't have a name. So.
Yeah.
It's just dad.
Yeah, just dad.
And, sorry.
I'm back, bitch.
And then it cuts to Liz at the shopkeep, and then the shopkeep asks Liz how Humpty Dumpty's doing, and that she hopes Humpty Dumpty's acting bad,
Yeah.
and then starts fucking doing like a weird
No,
evil
she's like,
laugh.
is he behaving himself? Probably not,
Goes and starts playing the piano and
And
just,
just
laughing.
laughing like
yeah,
a fucking
no, so
weirdo.
Yeah.
Liz starts questioning her and she's like, what did you sell me? Or what is that thing, you know?
You sold me a demon.
Yeah.
And then she's like, ah! Playing the piano for some reason, like,
Just not a whole lot of context there, you know,
And
just...
Liz cries and runs away.
yeah, Liz cries, or then it cuts to Hazel finding her adoption paper, and then she finds Beryl's phone with Beryl as her own wallpaper, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
But
with blood on it.
Actually,
No, that was Barrel's
I
phone.
thought
That's what it
that-
said.
That's what
Oh,
it
okay.
said.
Yeah, my bad.
But
I'm
I kind
fucking
of
dumb.
think maybe that was a joke that Humpty Dumpty did by putting her screensaver of herself all bloody, because she looked all bloody in that picture. But maybe
Do you want to give Humpty Dumpty that much credit,
I
though?
don't know.
Because, I mean, at this point, Humpty Dumpty, you know, he kind of just shows up. I don't see him as much of a thinker.
It's like
Yeah.
everything that could be creepy or funny in this movie was totally on accident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but so
But I do
Hazel-
like that, actually. I think Humpty Dumpty did put Beryl as her own screensaver.
Hazel's in the attic. She finds her adoption papers, finds out she's adopted, and she's like, well, surprised. And she finds fucking Beryl's phone with blood on it. And then so she like goes down, and then she like calls Liz, and she's all freaking out to her, and she's like all telling her what happened. And she's like, I found out adoption papers.
I'm adopted!
I have blood on it, and all this,
And her mom's upstairs yelling at herself in the mirror.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
so
when she
it
starts
comes
yelling at
back to
herself
the
in the mirror.
mom, and she's in this room with the guy who hit her pretty much. And that like
Yeah.
before it like
Dad.
goes to that, she's like sees herself in the mirror, and she's like talking to herself, or like her reflection's talking to her.
And it's like, you need to get rid of the doll!
Yeah, telling
The
her
doll
to
is
get rid of the
bad.
Humpty Dumpty doll.
And then,
Like memories or reflections or yeah.
I don't fucking know at this point, man.
And then
It's...
she looks over and sees a different doll that's alive.
Yeah, for no reason.
Yeah,
Just
for
one
no
time.
reason, just starts fucking doing some weird shit too. Like, isn't this about Humpty? Why is there another fucking doll?
And it's not like just any doll, it looks like a bobblehead,
Like a little
too.
cheesy baby doll.
Yeah. And then,
So-
Hazel comes in the room to confront Wendy about, like,
She's tripping.
the actual adoption and is like, hey, Mom, you need to calm down. We'll be okay. And then fucking Humpty Dumpty shows up and stabs her neck.
Yeah,
Even
Humpty
though his
Dumpty
whole
comes
mouth
behind her
Teeth are out.
Yeah, like,
and like stabs her, I guess, and then she like falls on the floor, and she's like crawling away and like running away from Humpty, and he's just like walking towards her, like not doing anything other than like walking
Ugh.
towards her. And for some reason, she like crawls all the way down over to the stairs, doesn't fucking see him, and then she falls down him, and obviously fucking like.
or
Humpty
she's
Dumpty-
up and running at this point when she gets in the hallway. She
Yeah.
stands up and starts running.
It didn't show you that part though. You just
It
seen
showed
her
you the
fucking-
tumble down the stairs.
You just seen her fall down the stairs.
Yeah. But no, she's like up and running because she like looks back and then I think she doesn't see the stairs, so then she like trips and falls down the stairs.
I just, for some reason, that part didn't process in my brain. I just remember her getting stabbed in the fucking neck, and then she fell down the stairs, and I'm like, how did she get to the stairs?
Yeah, but it's like,
You thought she was on the ground.
But also-
And then fell down the stairs.
Then she's just all of a sudden like, oh, my carotid artery's fine. I'm gonna stand up and fucking make an attempt to run. And then she fell down the stairs. No, that doesn't fucking make sense.
and then also what's funny too is that the stairs are on her right when she's walking, but then when it cuts to her falling down the stairs, she like is turning like this and then falls down. Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, anyway, she falls down the stairs.
Yeah.
Humpty Dumpty's like right behind her, and he like walks up to her when she's at the bottom of the stairs, and she's like all staring at him, like, you know.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, tasty.
And then like, I think he just like fucking bites her. I don't know. It's just implied that Hazel's dead at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Once again, I assume Humpty Dumpty eats her.
yeah, Humpty eats her, I guess. I suppose.
No.
No.
Well,
Because
don't no. Don't talk about that.
Yeah,
we'll
no
get to that.
problem.
I'm talking about it at the moment.
She's dead on the floor.
Can't
Yeah.
ruin the fucking twist for this.
Yeah,
movie.
no, not yet.
Campfire fair. Yep.
But like at this moment, I feel like it's kind of like easy to assume that he just fucking eats the dead bodies because they just end up missing.
Yeah. For some reason, it cuts back to Wendy. She's having memories of, well, not memories, but this dude who's implied to be the dad is like beating the shit out of her.
Yeah.
But as she's like, she has like, well, she's kind of following herself, looking at herself getting beat up by this guy.
It's like
Might be the dad.
memories, but also
Yeah.
kind of like happening.
But she's like seeing it happen in front of her.
In the greenhouse.
And then I also want to point out that I think this is like kind of at the start of where we're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah,
Like this story is
I
not
mean, we
making
are really
sense
trying
anymore.
to explain this as best as we can. It's,
Yeah.
It really fell apart right here.
Yeah, like it's so confusing because they're trying to jumble like 3 different stories together, but they're doing it in like the worst way possible.
Yeah.
It's
She's
just
watching herself kill her husband.
Yeah, it was so.
Yeah,
It
that's
comes
what
to the
comes to,
greenhouse
yeah.
as her husband's like abusing her, and she like goes into the greenhouse and she sees that she's standing over her husband as he's like all bloody, and it's implied that Wendy is the one who killed her husband. Like he didn't run off or anything. like she's the one who killed him because he's like being an abusive
Oh.
piece of shit.
We forgot something. Before this part, Bill comes in and he sees Humpty Dumpty standing in the window.
Oh yeah, he's outside the house and he sees like Humpty standing in the window with his like teeth open for some reason.
Yeah.
That's why you ran in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he like ran in to go help Wendy and like walks upstairs and sees Wendy, and he's like, you know, like trying to help her.
Yeah.
And she's like in this fucking like mental breakdown state, you know.
And then they go downstairs, and I
He does.
believe Humpty Dumpty is on the fucking couch. But Wendy is now outside going towards the greenhouse. And that's where this
he goes
comes
in
up.
and Humpty's like obviously in like the doll state, so he doesn't think anything of it. But he like looks over at him because he's like creeped out and he saw him like standing in the window.
Yeah.
He's like
So-
suspecting him, and it like shoots. It pans back from him to Humpty like fucking 20 times before it jump scares.
Yeah, so
But before that,
and then he like fucking like slowly like walks over to Humpty and like touches him on the face just to make
Or-
sure he's like not real.
yeah, and then why this is happening, Mom's in the
Yeah.
greenhouse watching.
Yeah, Mom walks away
Yeah.
from Bill and then she goes to the greenhouse.
Watching
and then-
her protect Humpty Dumpty from the dad or something, and then she ends up killing him.
No, so she's watching herself get beat up by the dad.
Yeah, but Humpty Dumpty's in that, like, memory. He's just there.
So there's like two different scenes playing out at
Yeah,
the same
yeah, yeah.
time with Humpty Dumpty in them.
Yeah, Humpty Dumpty is in Bill's room, or in the living room with Bill, but Mom's in the greenhouse and having like a schizophrenic episode watching this
I don't think he was in the
hallucination.
scene in the greenhouse.
Yeah, he was, because she was holding him while she was getting beat up, and then she like drops him.
Oh yeah.
But
That's
it's
right.
not the real Humpty Dumpty. This is the
It's like her staring at
Mom's-
a memory.
yeah.
So like the current Humpty Dumpty, and then it cuts back to where Bill's in the house
with the real Humpty Dumpty.
and he looks over at him as he's like sitting in his chair in like this doll state. He like slowly like walks over to him and like pokes him in the face just to make sure he's not real.
Yeah.
And he does that, nothing happens, and so he like backs up and he's like, you know, he's like relieved that it's like not actually real. And like as soon as he does that, and he like backs up. Fucking Humpty Dumpty just like walks, like gets up out of the chair and like walks over to him super
Oh, dude.
fast. It's like in
Yeah.
the blink of an eye, and then he dies.
It's like
It
fast
just
forward.
lunges. You're supposed to think that he dies, but you just never know
Yeah, it
because he's
doesn't
the only
show
one that
Bill
wasn't
dying.
killed on the screen.
Yeah,
It doesn't show Bill actually dying. It's just implied that Humpty Dumpty killed him.
yeah.
So yeah, cuts to the greenhouse where we talked about before when
And
he's
then-
like seeing a memory of her getting beat up by the dad, and so she kills him in the greenhouse.
Yeah, and then Liz
Yeah.
shows up.
And obviously she's like freaking out, and then Liz finally shows back up. She gets out of the car. She was like pulling a Goku this whole time, you know, just like
Taking 6 episodes.
yeah, fucking whole family's dying, and she's just like not even there to help.
And then Liz comes to her mom and is like, "Hey, Humpty Dumpty's an ancient demon. The shopkeeper told me everything."
She's like trying to
Even though
tell
she
her
didn't
that,
say
and like
anything.
fucking.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wendy's in like this mental state where she like remembers that she's the one who killed her dad, so she's like trying to explain that to Liz. And she's like explaining to Liz. She's like trying to tell her as she's like trying to tell her about Humpty Dumpty, because fucking Wendy doesn't think Humpty Dumpty's evil at this point. She's just like convinced that she's the one who killed her father, and Humpty Dumpty didn't make her do it. And so Liz is like trying to tell her like, "Oh, Humpty made you do that," you
Yeah,
know,
then-
because like Liz tells her, like when Wendy tells her that she's the one who killed her dad, Liz is like, "Oh, I know," you know, and then you find out that Liz knew the whole time what actually happened to their dad, and Hazel is the only one that didn't actually know.
And then mom starts telling Liz, like, "I need to purge myself. For I purged your dad, and now I need to purge myself." It's just some weird fucking bullshit spiel that
she's
doesn't
like,
make sense.
He hurt me, so I hurt him. You know.
Now I need to purge myself.
Yeah.
Atone for my sins.
So Wendy's trying to explain to her that like it wasn't really her fault, it was her dad. And so like Wendy like starts freaking out, and she like walks over to this part of the lawn. She like starts digging into the ground with her hands. And like Liz is like trying to stop her. She's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" She's like, "Well, this is where I buried your dad." And as she's doing that, like Wendy's trying to tell her, obviously, or I mean Liz is trying to tell Wendy that like, "Oh, it wasn't your fault, you know, like, I know you did that. It was Humpty Dumpty that made you do it. And then, like, as they're, like, digging, Liz, like, looks where she's digging. She sees...
Hazel's body.
She sees the face of Hazel, her sister.
But it's supposed to be where the dad was buried.
I thought
Yeah.
it was the dad.
Yeah,
We all thought it
dad
was the dad at first, because it doesn't really show a lot of detail on the body.
And it,
Yeah.
But it
what
was
I
like
thought,
fucking not decomposed. It was
yeah,
like,
that's what
it
I
was
was
supposed
thinking.
to be buried for 21 years. Like, what the hell? Why is it
But that
not
was a man
decomposed?
face.
No, it was Hazel because of the mark on her cheek,
Yeah, so
which
it's Hazel.
comes back later.
Obviously, Liz sees Hazel on the ground, and then she, like, freaks out, and then she gets the idea in her head. She's like, oh, wait, you didn't kill my dad. You killed Hazel. And so then she freaks out, and she, like, runs away, and she's like, wait, you did this to Hazel?
How
Now they're
could
back
you,
in
Mom?
the house at
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah, and so she runs away, and then her mom feels bad because she thought she killed her dad, not Hazel. And that's a clusterfuck.
And then they walk into the house again to see Bill just dead, chilling on a couch with his face just shredded.
Well, Liz walks back in because obviously she's scared by seeing Hazel's body, and she doesn't want to be near her
Yeah.
mom. 'Cause she
She's
thought,
like, stay away from me, Mom.
yeah. So she runs into the house. She, like, fucking sees fucking Bill dead in the chair.
Yeah, and then I wrote
Did
down
you
again.
fucking do this too?
I wrote down, like, how the fuck does this all have to do with Humpty Dumpty being a demon? Like,
Yeah.
but then it cuts like a flashback to like a weird fucking like seance going on.
Yeah, so
For a
her
split
mom,
second,
No,
though.
no. So her mom goes back in after Liz, after she sees Bill, and then she, like, obviously, like, sees Bill, and so she's freaked out, and then her mom comes in, she's like, looks at her mom, she's like, you did this too? She, like, hates her mom at this point. She's, like, backing away from her because she thinks her mom, like, fucking killed all these people. And then it cuts to this, like, memory where it's implied that
But like during that whole spiel between Liz and her mom, it was showing like snippets from like 3 people just like praising something.
yeah.
But it doesn't get the actual memory until now.
So it cuts back to a snippet of so I guess you find out that Wendy is actually the one who brought Humpty Dumpty to life, or basically, like, made the demon possess the doll because she didn't actually have a miscarriage with her original daughter Hazel. Not the Hazel you know in the story, but the original Hazel, the one that Bill told her she'd miscarried. Because she didn't actually have a miscarriage. What happened was she was part of this pact where it was her, Bill, and then a third person, which we don't really know. I think it's the shopkeeper.
It's the shopkeeper or the dad,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't make sense to be the dad since he's dead, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, like the shopkeeper or somebody. And what basically happened is she sacrificed the original Hazel by pretty much putting her in a fireplace and burning her alive in order to have a demon possess the Humpty Dumpty doll. And then you find out,
That's why he cries like a baby.
yeah, and then you find out after that Wendy was actually the one that killed all the people originally. It wasn't actually Humpty Dumpty. It's just kind of shown as Humpty Dumpty because I think it's like implied that the demon that she got to possess the doll actually is the one that made her do it.
But
Yeah.
it also doesn't make a lot of sense though when it comes to that, because Wendy is supposed to be the one who killed people, but every time, like, or I guess during the scene, like, she's like, it's behind you to Liz, as Liz is on the phone about to call the police, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Or she's yelling at her mom. I don't really remember. This part's really
And then
fucking
it goes
weird.
back to the scenes of all the people that die. Like, it starts with Beryl first, and it actually shows that, it was Wendy instead of Humpty that killed Beryl.
Yeah.
And then it was actually Wendy who killed Hazel
And Bill.
and Bill. She was actually the
But-
one that killed all of them.
But it doesn't make sense with how Bill died, because Bill died while Mom was in the greenhouse.
Oh my god, you're right.
But how did Mom kill Bill when she's in the greenhouse? And then Liz is also, like, there at maybe the time that Bill died. I don't know. But then I think maybe Liz...
So I don't think it shows Wendy actually killing Bill. I think Bill is the only one that's like definitively killed by Humpty.
But I also think Liz is killed by Humpty too.
Yeah. And then finally, yeah, like the final scene is Liz is like backing away from Wendy as she's like trying to tell her about all this stuff. And
That's not the final scene. That's the one before the final scene. Because the final scene is fucking.
oh yeah. Okay, that's not the actual final scene, but yeah, she's like backing away.
It's like the
And like
end.
Wendy's like trying to be like oh, I was just trying to protect you and all this stuff, and she's like backing away, and then like she's like, oh, he's behind you, and then
he just has a
she,
fucking big butcher knife.
and then Liz turns around and fucking Humpty's standing behind her with like a big old fucking knife, and then I don't know, it takes like fucking 10 seconds. I don't know how she didn't react to it.
And I also want to say that he makes a stabbing motion, but slits her throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he slits her throat, and then boom, Liz is dead.
Yeah.
All the people besides Wendy are dead.
And then it cuts to a awful reincarnation of the end of Psycho, where
Yeah.
she's sitting there with the 4 people who she might have killed, who Humpty killed 2, she killed 2, I don't know.
Yeah.
And she's petting, I think, Liz's hair and
She's like,
singing.
she's like fucking, she set them all up like she's just chilling with their family even though they're all dead. She's just like singing, supposed to be like, oh, like, this is all fucking screwed up and she's a psychopath kind of scene, you know?
Yeah, and then it starts zooming in on her face as she starts laughing.
And then boom, movie cuts. The end.
Over.
So
Yeah.
it's like we either have to watch the sequel or like just bury this shit because it's bad.
Dude, I don't think the sequel will do any justice. Like, there's not really any need for a sequel. It kind of ends in
fire.
in a way that it should stay ended, you know?
Yeah, so this movie's just, it's too much. It, like, there's so many separate, like,
Yeah, it was fucking big and
A piece of
disastrous.
Shit ass.
Tried to have, like
I said,
3
like,
different storylines going on at once.
at the start, like I think, like I told you guys all in the first podcast, this is going to be our first B movie. This was not a B movie. This was an actual attempt at a horror movie. I think it take like the horror trope of like a creepy doll coming to life and try to play on that. I think it kind of fell in that because it used like fucking Humpty Dumpty, which is like a fucking nursery rhyme that we all hear as kids that like they're just like trying to make it creepy, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even really creepy.
Yeah.
The doll itself was creepy.
Yeah, the
They
doll
nailed
itself was
that.
kind of cool.
That was really cool, and you know, like
But when it went demon
Even
form,
then,
it
I
kind of
don't know.
lost the creepiness.
they
So-
could have done so much more with
The
it.
doll is implied to look like Humpty Dumpty, but it doesn't at all. I think
Yeah,
we were
it's
all
just-
at first when it first shows the doll, we were like, "Oh, is that supposed to be Humpty?"
It doesn't look like Egghead Man.
Yeah.
It just looks like a fucking weird doll.
You know, it kind of looks like Bill.
Yeah,
Like Bill in the movie. Like, they kind of look the same.
a little bit.
We touched on the part where, like, Bill and Mom were fucking, like, making Humpty Dumpty demon thing, right? We talked about that?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
it's
he's a
bad.
demon, but, like, at the same time, he doesn't really do demonic things other than just kind of transform into, like, a weird teeth guy.
And
yeah.
he does he teleports rooms.
Well, I guess he does do that. That's pretty
Yeah.
demonic, I guess. Teleportation, you know?
Does that?
It's pretty scary. Alright, well,
Because implied he kills a few people. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot to talk about besides this movie. Anything you want to add, Liz?
No.
anything you want to add, Trev?
Well, the dialogue
Oh.
was just like so drawn out. It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
really, like, I get
Oh.
it. You're arguing.
I think the dialogue at like the start of the movie was relatable because obviously I think it was like relatable in the sense like if you have like a family member who has like dementia, like the worrying aspect of it, which is kind of why I thought it would be good. It does not actually go anywhere. Like
Yeah,
I said,
no.
when it reaches like the actual
Because
like
it was an accident.
yeah, it reaches like the peak of the movie when everything kind of starts happening, that's really when it like falls apart.
Yeah. It
It-
fell apart very bad.
Yeah.
It could have tumbled into like an avalanche, and those little avalanches could have had their own little separate little like mountains and tumbled into something great, but it just fucking fell into one big mess.
All right. Well,
Terrible analogies come with terrible films, so I can't compare it to anything neat here.
I think I said, like, during the movie, I felt like what they were kind of trying to do is, you know how, like, some nursery rhymes do have, like, creepy backgrounds to them, like Ring Around the Rosie being linked to, like, the Black Plague, that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's what they're trying to do with, like, Humpty Dumpty. It really did not work out.
yeah, it didn't. It fell flat, like real hard.
I think if you're, like, a kid, this is probably a scary movie.
The Curse of Dumpty Humpty.
Dumpty
The curse of Dumpty Humpty definitely had
He
a
got a Dumpty.
big great fall.
Yeah.
But all right, so
I think that's pretty much it.
1 out of 5 sexy demonic Humpty Dumptys. What would you give it?
Half.
0.3.
You'd give it half of a sexy Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, half a dumpy of a Humpty Dumpty.
And what'd you say, Liz?
I said 0.3.
0.3.
I'd give it like half that.
Half what?
Half you.
I'm giving this a big old fat 0, man. Like,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? I'll
I'll
give it 0.5.
I'm giving it half just because, like I said, the beginning of the movie was alright.
Yeah, I'll give it 0.5 because the first 2 acts definitely had something set up.
Yeah.
But then that 3rd act came around and then they just kind of untied everything they set up and decided to make it a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now where's Dumpty Humpty on the villain list?
Oh, dude.
So far from the movie.
Definitely behind the fucking shadow people.
I feel like we should just do like a fucking tier list yearly of all the fucking, villains.
Yeah, like a seasonal tier list.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Humpty Dumpty is way at the bottom.
He's a fucking F tier for sure, man. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
there ain't no doubt about
He
it.
killed more people than shadow people, though.
No.
It is
Shadow
true,
people
but
don't kill no people, though.
So
like,
If you're
You
wondering
gotta
what we're
think about
talking
it, like-
about, listen to our first podcast, by the
the shadow people they're there to kind of just scare you. And they do a great job at that. But Humpty Dumpty, he's there to murder people, but he only kills 2 people.
that's fair.
When he had an opportunity to kill all of them, he just decided, like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
No.
I feel like we should wrap this up.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you guys are interested, this is a Scott Jeffrey film. It's available on Tubi, which is where we watched it. Looks like it's also on Pluto TV. I wouldn't recommend it. I thought it was awful. But if
I
you're
will
curious-
also say that this movie came out in 2021.
What?
Yeah.
So it's only like a year old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is not good. But yeah, next week we're going to be watching The Right, which I'm actually excited for. I think we're all going to like that.
Yeah,
Alright.
Anthony
Yeah, hopefully,
Hopkins is
Mhm.
a really great actor.
You know, I actually don't think it could be anywhere close to as bad as this movie was. I don't think any movie can, but
Yeah,
hey, we'll find that out later.
I guess we'll see at some point.
Well,
But yeah, thanks for listening.
thank you
See you
guys.
guys next week. Bye.
We appreciate the listens.